Good morning, Librit, everybody. It's really nice to meet so many people that I've met before. And Didzis, nice to meet you. First time, very happy to meet you. So let's talk about how SAF Technika came to be. Didzis, what was the main idea behind SAF Technika?
The basic idea evolved from, so to speak, very ancient times. The idea was to create a communication device that simply could not be bought on the market. You have to remember, the idea was born in deep Soviet times. Back then, not much could be bought. A person living under the Soviet system, well, his brain worked differently. The problem wasn't how to make money. The problem was how to get something that wasn't available. Because money alone meant nothing. And if you needed something, you had to create it yourself. Gradually, we learned to build things that simply could not be bought. Eventually, it became communication equipment, radio relay lines, systems for data transmission. When the Soviet era ended, we realized, yes, you could buy such devices in the West. But they were at least 10 times more expensive. Traditional engineering had gone its way, producing good, reliable, but expensive equipment. Too expensive for many applications. And that's how we entered the world market, like complete beginners, with radically cheaper solutions. We learned how to do it. Of course, years passed and others realized they could do it too. This idea pushed SAF to develop something that didn't exist in the world before. Because our approach was never, someone is making money, let's copy them. That's not for us. We prefer making something that hasn't been done before. On one hand, that's good. On the other, salespeople say customers don't buy what they don't know. Customers want something familiar, just slightly better, slightly cheaper. And from a commercial standpoint, that's correct. For an engineer, though, it's completely uninteresting.
It's very interesting what you're saying, of course, because you identified one economic problem, needing money, and then a second problem, technology problems, that there's technology from the West, which is much more expensive, and we can do it better and for less money. It's great. But what were the biggest early challenges? What were the most things that were most difficult?
It's a challenge to sell something that looks like a crazy inventor's idea. Is it really unnecessary? Or has no one learned how to use it properly? It was the same with our first cheap radios. When we went to the communications inspection office, a woman who had worked there for 30 years said, "We can't register this. It's homemade." And my older colleague replied, "The device that flew to the moon was also homemade." So the question is this the work of a crazy person, or is it actually something good? Today, startups are popular. Many crazy people begin something. Most fail. But maybe 1 in 100 succeeds. We positioned ourselves somewhere in between crazy and sane.
Yeah, I'm afraid I was one of those vetsatantes, because I remember back in the day, I saw my first Apple computer. My aunt had it in 1980 something. I thought, what would anybody ever want with that? So yeah, we have moved forward so much. When you were building SAF, what did you see? What values were non-negotiable? What things were most important to you that you couldn't let go of? Maybe anybody can answer.
It's a funny question.
Right.
But I'm afraid I can't give you a very good answer to that. Because, of course, you could say that, quality is non-negotiable. We are not cheating on specs. There are 4 values currently agreed, and we live according to them. And first is we keep our promises. Second is we are competent. Third is we do things simply. And fourth is we adapt. And of course, we can make, at least a few hours discussion. But I think if you put your question like what is non-negotiable, is that we are living according to those values. It's like that. But of course, if you try to look at that historically, I don't have a good answer. We were just working like crazy. We were getting those nice things coming out of Didzis department, and then we tried to compete with multinationals. It's funny to compete against Siemens and Nokia and Ericsson's, and Chinese were growing at that time. It was early 2000s. It was real fun to kick out Ericsson completely off Chinese market, in 2003, 4, and 5. Yeah.
Jānis, and bringing SAF more fully into the United States, were these values easily transmissible in the United States?
By the way, States was the last market we implemented.
Yeah, and I came on board in SAF relatively late, only in 2015. So I remember these early days looking a little bit from outside, because I was sort of working for a company that was owning majority of SAF microlink in early 2000. But then SAF was something, in a basement and in a yard in Zirno 91. Doing these strange and interesting things. But talking about United States, I think that values are pretty universal, and people, even in a very materialistic culture of United States, appreciate some kind of, straightforwardness and honesty. And SAF has very, very good reputation in United States when it comes to quality of service, sort of being accessible, not twisting arms of customers, and so on. So I think customers appreciate that, and also employees appreciate that. So majority of our team, it's not very big. We have about 20 people working over in North America, and majority of team like to stick around, and we don't have a big turnover.
We've already kind of transitioned into building success from a strong culture. I'd ask, so 2 questions. First, for Didzis, what kind of engineers thrive? What kind of engineers do really well at SAF?
There's one big desire among engineers, that a young engineer arrives already knowing how to build something real. Not someone who says, "Now teach me, I'm ready to begin engineering." If an engineer in an interview pulls out a device he built himself, you could cry with happiness, because usually a graduate thinks everything will be fine, and then begins several years of real learning. That's why people who are interested in this even before school, they are the real value.
I really love that answer. That's really great. One of my questions coming from education is, you have a very strong focus yourself on promoting STEM education in Latvia. You do.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you see that as actually, it flows very nicely from what Didzis was just saying, that we need people who want experience rather than feeling like they have experience to add. Why do you promote STEM education so strongly?
It's twofold. One thing is that people who doesn't know STEM, and it's starting from basic maths and then to the physics. First of all, STEM teaches them the basics how the world is built. And without STEM, you have those nice anti-vax and tinfoil crowds, which are in fact dangerous to national security. So if you start from that, simply stupid people are easy to manipulate, and you don't want to live in a country together with a lot of stupid people. This is one argument. And second thing, of course, is close to our skin, so we want engineers, and you don't have engineers if you don't have kids who know STEM. So that's all the point, and I believe we have succeeded. So our 30 years crusade ended like 2 years ago, when we are having again obligatory physics, chemistry, and biology exams back in secondary school exams. So yes, we did it. First, we pushed back mathematics because it was funny thing in 90s, in the flavor of freedom and the freedom to choose, everything obligatory was taken out of education system. So school kids could choose what to learn and what exams to pass. And it led to predictable thing that if you are given choice between ice cream and hard work, you will always choose ice cream, right? It was pretty difficult task to push that hard work back, and yeah, we have succeeded.
Sounds very similar to the SAF story too, just pushing for 30 years and more.
Yeah, and thing is that in order to change those things, you have to be pretty stubborn, persistent, and you have to be ready to run it long term. And this is what we're doing in SAF as well.
So can we add stubbornness and persistence to cultural values?
Yeah.
Good. Jānis, what makes SAF Technika different from other tech companies?
I think there are so many different tech companies that probably you will find some of them similar to SAF Technika, but looking internationally, one is if that is a startup, and startup has a very distinct rules of the game or culture. There are investors, they give in money, and they expect a hockey stick, something happening in a few years, very fast, and then eventually company gonna be sold. So it's a very stressful environment in startups in such a way. And maybe SAF is different in a way that it is more slow and steady, and maybe it feels more relaxed inside, especially here in Riga. If you will go to any startup, then the people will be with the burning eyes running back and forth, and probably they will burn out in a few years, especially in the United States with business and corporate culture. SAF is maybe different in a way that there are still founders here. And founder-run company feels very much different because it's like, I don't know, Hewlett-Packard in an early days maybe, or whatever. But when the next or third generation of professional managers take over in publicly traded companies, it's just very different. Then it's sort of very, let's say, professional management, layoffs every 5 years. Maybe SAF is different in a way that it's more, there is more like a family feeling in the company. That's the biggest difference. And of course, people who are founders are still working there, and where can you find an engineer still designing products who is a founder? Yeah. So that's a difference.
Norman, when you think about other technology companies, are there any companies that you say, I'd like to be like them?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
That's a great answer.
I have passed that period of idols, you know. Mm-hmm. You can think probably of Bill Gates in early years, or I don't know.
So no business books for you?
No. No. No, not at all. It's our own bumps, you know, and hard lessons and stuff like that. No, I don't. to follow idols, I don't think it's very good in long run.
Okay. So culture, we've been talking about culture, which is very important, of course, but one of the things that everybody knows SAF Technika for is great products and expertise, and we've been talking about that. So let's talk about the move from wireless technology to indoor air quality and horticultural tools. How did your wireless expertise lead to indoor air quality and horticulture? How did you decide to go there?
It was like probably 15 years ago. Somehow we were thinking, what else can we do? First idea was to make a mesh-based thermometer network. Yeah, with the mesh radio, where every node, every thermometer we talk to, every thermometer, and then magically all that data will gather in gateway and then passed up to the cloud. And we hired science people. We hired one bright guy from university, and he agreed to make that network for us. And then after 2 years, he came back and said he can do that. And then Didzis took over. And then we started with that project which was called Grandpa Thermometer, where you can monitor, like I do believe, 12 thermometers with one box and no internet, because internet is evil. So it was just closed loop, and this was Didzis who designed it. So you can ask Didzis why we did in the way he did. By the way, it's still by far the best user interface we have in our Aranet ecosystem.
Okay, Didzis, why?
We were fighting. We were fighting. Didzis want.
There's a story. I once wanted a telephone, so I built a radio relay line myself. Later, my father would call me whenever his cheap Chinese wireless thermometer failed. There are no instructions. It doesn't work. And I'd tell him, change the battery. Press 2 buttons in a specific sequence. Hold one, then press the other. Only then will it work. That gave me confidence. Cheap products are cheap, but they're not human-friendly. They're difficult to use. So we thought, let's make something simple, practical, convenient. We had strong experience in microwave radio. We understand everything we build. It's not a black box. So the focus became clear. User-friendly devices. A device you can pick up after 5 years on a shelf and use without reading instructions. Personally, I dislike complicated things. I'm proud that our Bluetooth devices can be used without registration. You don't need to create an account just so someone can collect your email. If there's no real need for an account, why force it? Let people act freely. That's the difference in our concept. Simple, easy to use, and high quality. If we state a temperature accuracy, it must be true. We don't exaggerate specifications. It's better to promise less and over-deliver.
When did or how have indoor air quality and horticulture become a strategic direction rather than simply a trend?
Those are two completely different paths. Because indoor air quality, or let's say we started with CO2 monitoring, it's, let's say, just by coincidence, because my youngest daughter, and that was again 10 years ago, I think, time is passing or even more, was just falling off the chair in classroom in the school. Mother thought that something wrong with her, and then she brought her to the doctor, to the family doctor. And family doctor looked at her, so no, she's absolutely healthy. why don't you measure CO2 in the classroom? And at that time, only reasonable CO2 monitor was Netatmo, if you remember that brand. Now it's sold to some of the French companies, some of those big ones, but they still operate. And I bought that monitor, and this is clumsy. It's like the sensor itself, and then there is another box which you have to connect to mains power supply, and then you have to configure Wi-Fi. You know, it's a really lot of hassle. But so I did all that nice exercise and silently put that in that classroom. And result was that air quality in that classroom, you know, CO2 levels exceed 4,000 ppms, which is, you know, bad. And simply daughter was poisoned by that, and you know, switching off, you know, really technically falling off of the chair during class. And so we pushed the director of that school to teach teachers to ventilate classes, to open windows. It was another big fight. And then somehow I was telling, probably Didzis is remembering that in different way, but I was complaining to Didzis with all that crap, you know, and we had already thermometers. So it was like few years after first of SAF thermometer product. And then Didzis took that as a task. We can do better. We can do simpler, better, cheaper, more efficient. And we did it.
Your daughter was like a canary in a mine.
Absolutely. And she simply is very, very sensitive to
And then we released Aranet 4, and nobody was buying it, and nobody was buying it, and nobody was buying it, and we were discussing whether we should keep going or not. And then COVID happened.
We even decided to kill it before COVID started.
Yeah. We were really screaming at each other. I was saying, why do we need to waste that money? You know, no one is buying it, and such a waste, of course, because I have to sell, and I was not able to sell it. But then COVID happened, and before COVID, we were sending a lot of Aranet 4s to air scientists. There are scientists who are doing, you know, atmospheric research, and 20 guys like that in United States. Maybe worldwide there are hundreds, couple of hundreds. But we were sending to them, and they really liked it, like for their own experiments and research and so on. And then one day, that was February 20, 2020, when COVID was already sort of just starting, on a CNN, on a nighttime show, Don Lemon was a host. He was later kicked out, but at that time he was a big star, and it was a popular program. And there is Joe Allen. He is a scientist from Harvard, and he takes out of the pocket Aranet 4, shows it to camera, and says, you got to monitor CO2 levels because COVID is airborne. It is spreading over, you know, aerosols. You got to buy them, you got to monitor it. It's a way how you can prevent that terrible disease. And it was deadly at that time. 5 minutes later, quote requests, you know, we have a website, quote requests, ding, 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 ding. It's like, you know, a jackpot in a casino, completely free of charge. But he was just a scientist, and he happened to have Aranet 4. And even Didzis' modesty and engineers' modesty, they were very much against having Aranet 4 on the front of device. You know, we want to be unabstracted. Why we need to write that on? So first Aranet 4s were without Aranet 4 on the front panel. And then there was a fight with marketing, and somehow marketing, Edgars at that time was managing marketing. He convinced them to put this Aranet 4. So without having Aranet 4 on the front, it would be probably also a different story. But and after that, about 2 years, we got so much free exposure in United States media, like every news outlet, New York Times, Washington Post, local media. We had so much media attention without paying a single dime, just because of being a friends with scientists. So I could say that's a big part of why Aranet even exists today like it is now. It would be different. We would go more into the greenhouses probably and some other niches, but still it was a big bestseller. I think by now, even by today, Aranet 4 is the highest volume product ever produced by SAF Technika. It's maybe 400,000 units are sold worldwide, or big numbers. Mass product.
I remember before COVID, every time I'd see a picture of Aranet on somebody's internet or their Facebook, I was surprised. But then it started such your hockey stick. Your hockey stick
It was
growth.
hockey stick.
Yeah. It's an interesting, fascinating story. So that brings us back to what this slogan, connect and protect what matters. What does that mean to you?
No,
Marketing people.
it's not more. It's probably not like a marketing people, but it is like I have a guy back in Denver, and he is like a consultant, and he tries to sell something to me all the time, and he sends different Harvard Business Review articles and so on and so on. Peer-to-peer advisory is very popular concept in United States. That sort of entrepreneurs once a month sit in a circle like anonymous alcoholics and tell each other their problems and try to give good advice how to go on with living. Something of that sort is popular in the United States. So John was something he sent about these all visions and missions, and long time ago I was reading this Simon Sinek book, Start With Why. It's a good book. I just can advise everybody to read it. It's still well written, and Simon Sinek definitely made a lot of money and good career of that simple concept, and writing a few books about that. And yeah, John Finnegan said me, Jānis, do you remember what's SAF's vision and what SAF is about, why the company exists? And of course, nobody remember.
You have visions, you
before.
protect medicine.
Yes. And we do like twice a year a team week when all our remote employees are coming. It's in both in Denver and also here in Riga. By the way, in Riga it's next week. And then I think I invited John Finnegan to be like a guest speaker and give some training and lecture, and he asks all the audience, what's SAF's vision, why SAF exists? And of course no one can repeat because it's like 2 sentences on a web page, and I got embarrassed, and John says, it's really bad that people can't say it. And then we did a little team exercise about, devising what would be a catchy slogan, very good for SAF. It was a little bit longer, but eventually we came to that connect and protect what matters, because it's like, first of all, it's about communications. Secondly, it's about some sort of critical and important information, and SAF is a lot into critical communications, critical networks. Third, what matters, also like important, protection, because we make safe and good devices. And so, but it's still open-ended enough that even if we move into, for example, defense and, doing such sort of things and utilize our experience, it's still valid. It's connect and protect what matters. And Aranet 4 is about your health and about your brain is working. So it's again about protecting what matters. So it's sort of pretty open-ended, and it's easy to remember. And I think now, after a year, many more people can say what SAF stands for. It's about connect, protect what matters. Yeah. Maybe one day we move into security business, start moving money around and guarding it.
Was there a moment when you understood that Aranet could become a global solution?
On
February 2022.
On that day when Don Lemon said it's the best you can No, Joe Allen said it's the best you can find.
I really love the story of using CO2 as a proxy for measuring COVID. I think that's a super story.
That was not us. That was
Well, yeah,
It's basically
you had to recognize
it's
it.
basically a proxy for how good your ventilation is.
Yeah, which is, yeah, it's a proxy for an awful lot. I mean, a lot of diseases too, but you have to recognize it. And I think that was your key.
But then it's also a proxy for example, energy saving, because like Rimi supermarkets are using Aranet 4 to see when there are few people in the room, and they can turn down their ventilation and not over ventilate. So it's not only for health reasons, but also for purely practical money saving reasons.
That's health too, I guess. But so,
Yeah, money is health, I agree.
yeah, no, I agree. But so we've been talking today about sort of the past and then about what things are like today, but the future is already knocking at the door. Where do you see Aranet home products going in the future?
Aranet home products?
Yeah.
No, I think this year and next couple of years is radon thing, because we released the best in the world radon sensor, very much thanks to Didzis, and also the design is patent pending. I guess Aranet still will be in houses for people, for this health and efficiency and control. Aranet is about controlled environments generally, and how you can better control environments. And we will still pursue that direction. I think we will get more and more into different interesting niches and applications.
Yeah, it's like messages, stay tuned, because we are currently pouring many millions into R&D. So we have quite an extensive list of targets where we want to be, but for time being, it's kind of confidential.
I think we have reached a little bit like such an inflection point when there are more products or more options what to do, and we get to become more selective and just understand what we need to do. And it was different even a couple of years ago. Like a couple of years ago, we had to explain to many people what Aranet is, and now we have less to explain what Aranet is, but we have more opportunities what to do with that. And I think a bit of luck and more wisdom is needed to be successful.
Which is easier to explain, Aranet home line products or more commercial products?
It depends to whom you talk to.
Well, of course, okay, but humor me.
Yeah, it is really a very good question, because for Aranet 4 and for Radon, it's more scientists or regulators who are educating audiences, who are educating private persons. It's not us. We are just following stream and just making a simpler, better quality products to fit in that demand. But if we talk about business, if we talk about industry and horticulture on greenhouses, then it is again quite simple. If by investing into sensors, into measuring and steering your crops, you can significantly increase your sales and your business, then it's easy way to explain. So if you invest into sensors X money, and after 1 year you will get Y returns, then it's pretty simple math. And so therefore, for greenhouses, for horticulture people, you need people in your sales team who understand horticulture. So we hired already a couple of agronomists who speak the language of your audience. So this, I think, is our biggest change, or our biggest understanding. It's not enough that you are just engineers you have to understand your customers' real needs, right? So, and they might be quite different. And yeah, we are investing and we are getting smarter by the day what the needs of our customer are. So certainly that intensive agriculture is one of our priorities. But then let's see, it's again sort of all cold chain applications. So it's the places where you have to measure temperature in all sorts of fridges or clean rooms or what's not. And then, of course, the same thing about indoor air quality and energy management. So it's again, in sensor world, there are endless possibilities. So this is, as Jānis told, and of course we have to be wise enough to pick the right ones. And it's sometimes not an easy task. So you just to be, and this is luxury of SAF. As owners run company, we can make a pretty quick decisions. So if we find opportunity, so we can run after it pretty fast. And this again is quite a big difference comparing to larger multinationals or companies run by management. So for them it's more difficult.
It's a really interesting conversation. I've worked in these cinder block research buildings, so these very enclosed building, and you're stuck for a full day without windows, without good ventilation, and this is the world, and these are scientists, so they should know better. Didzis, do you use Aranet products?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite to use? What do you use?
I make these products for myself too. An engineer who doesn't use his own product is far less valuable than one who does, because that's how you understand what truly matters. Otherwise, feedback takes too long. If you design, sell, then wait for customer feedback, the loop is slow. We shorten it by using our own devices. Every new sensor, I install it immediately. I observe it. I notice what I like, what I don't. And long-term observation matters. After a year or two, you see what really changes. Everything we create, we use ourselves. I show these products not because someone pays me, but because I need them and I like them.
You remind me of an old Latvian saying that my wife, I can't repeat it in Latvian, my wife always says, it's like a cobbler who doesn't have shoes for his own children.
Kurpnieks bez kurpēm.
Yeah. Present and the near future is bright, new products, good responsibility. I really like what you said, Didzis, about using your own products and seeing for yourself how things work. What do you hope for the future? What do you hope that SAF and Aranet are known for in 10 years?
Wrong question.
Okay, tell me the right one.
We are very happy to be still alive, you know. We live for today, we live for tomorrow. Because unfortunately, we live in so turbulent times that any prediction, you know, beyond probably 1 year is extremely speculative. And we don't want to do it. We are doing the best we can. We are making products according best of our knowledge and our gut feeling, but you know, to tell what SAF will be in, what America will be in 10 years, you know, okay, have a better question. Nobody can answer, right? Or what the world will be in 5 years. So, and therefore it's just we live for today. We live the best of our abilities, yeah, and we just keep our minds open. It's fun to live, you know. It's fun to live today.
Jānis?
No, I think that SAF after 10 years will exist. I'm pretty sure about that. I think SAF will be way bigger and financially maybe more successful than it is today. I think that from management's perspective, there is just much more management capacities than it was some time ago. And we have few new subsidiaries, like we have Singapore now, we have Bogota in South America now. And, you know, SAF will be big, multinational, and rich and successful company. I'm very much sure about that.
But I think Norman answered.
And founders will be very rich people, still working in SAF.
But Norman, what you said is really, of course, to be known for consistency, continued responsibility, I think those are extremely strong things to be known for. So the final question, Didzis, what advice would you give to future innovators, new engineers?
Work with interest. Do what you like. Don't wait for someone to spoon feed you.
I agree with this. Yeah, just keep digging.
Yeah.
Keep digging.
So you use the spoon, you don't use the spoon to feed yourself, but to dig.
Yeah, and find the interest. Find the interest, because just education and just knowledge without interest is also a very tricky thing. Yeah, but it's you should live with interest. You should, because if you find a job you like, you are very happy. You don't have to go to work every day, right? So you just do things what you like. So
Yeah, they are lifestyle entrepreneurs.
Yeah. I was going to use that word, but what about you, Jānis? What advice would you have? Because I actually are in the business of giving advice.
No, I totally agree that you should not do work if you don't like it and love it. I think it's much more fun to do something that is interesting and makes you moving. And I would add to what Norman said, that also maybe if you can work in a company and do the work that makes Earth better place, and also maybe Latvia a better place, do something positive, not make a poison, but maybe make something that improves the lives. Then it's even better, right? And if you can make a little money doing that, then it's even more better.
A little, though. But so that kind of loops back to another question. What impact does SAF have on society already?
Oh, I think that we did a lot to mitigate COVID during the latest crisis. And I think we do a lot also to help to these growers to increase their yields. Mm-hmm. And we know that climate change generally will require, more controlled ability to control the environments and manage the environments. And of course, we do a lot into communications world, critical communications, network, data, and so on. Mm-hmm. So I think everything we do makes the world a little better place.
Norman, anything to add?
No, it's enough.
It's enough. Okay.
I am marketing guy. Yeah, that's my job, to lift up your spirits a little bit. They are more like a gloomy engineers, but I'm more like a marketing guy. I'm positive.
No, I think Norman's is just straightforward. So this has been a very interesting conversation with the three founders, Normunds, Didzis, and Jānis, and thank you for being here. And I think there has been a lot valuable said, and I look forward to another conversation soon.